off with a bang. We've got CycloneGG with the first pick versus Valance Squadron. Valance Squadron is the team formerly known as Orbit, minus Cuvo Fred and their support Tricks Tank. They've added new players. CycloneGG, however, pretty much the same thing from last year.
Yeah, completely the same from last year. You got your Vote, you know, Deathwalker in the solo lane, a lot of the same names that you're expected to seeing from Cyclone there. But like you mentioned, Tom, Valance, definitely, they're like a whole new roster, basically. Only losing 2 members there, but that's all right. I got you back. Only losing 2 members, but they're definitely looking pretty strong. I mean, everyone really expected this team to have a significant drop-off by losing Tricks Tank and Cuvo Fred, 2 of the stronger players in Europe, but last week, or earlier on this week, they split with Energy. This is a team with a high ceiling in Valance Squadron.
Listen, man, you said everybody. I got to make sure I'm not included there.
Okay.
I've been saying for a while since we saw these roster swaps that I really think Valance Squad actually will have a higher ceiling, like you said, or a higher ceiling than Orbit. I think that the switch from Tricks Tank to, from Cuvo Fred to Cherio actually is more of a side grade, if not an upgrade, than people realize. And Tricks Tank to Big Man Tings will see some growing pains, but I think that could be something interesting to see there. Fafnir, first pick overall. Wow. I know Collis likes this god, but
he does.
That much?
He does, and Big Man Tings likes it as well, so maybe it's a bit of a takeaway from Valance, but that's pretty early on in the draft to see a Fafnir. I agree.
Very interesting. So the Cabrakan ban it makes sense. Both these teams really like the Cabrakan, so I'm not too concerned about that. But Fafnir first pick, Rom and Hunbats. There are so many other contested picks here that we're not seeing. Where's the Nike? Where's the Thanatos? I mean, there's just not a lot of. This seems like a different meta.
A little bit, but we're finally going to see Cherry on an Assassin, it looks like, for Valance Squadron. He's played a lot of Guardians recently, so interested to see there. Susano being locked in for Ice Ice Baby. Love this pick. Susano's looked very, very strong early on in Season 4. The addition of Bluestone, Heartseeker that synergizes very, very well with this kit. Really, really strong jungler here.
Poseidon will be the selection on the right side. That's going to really screw up what Susano wants to do. A lot of his mobility gets cut in half by the Poseidon cripple on the Whirlpool. That's a good look. Aphrodite banned out by Valance Squad. We know that mid lane Wolfie likes the Aphrodite.
Yeah, and it's excellent against Poseidon because you can immune 2 people from the Kraken with your ult as long as you're linked to one of your teammates. Definitely a heads-up ban there. And Lobster, known for his Poseidon play. Papa Lob was the one who brought Poseidon back into the meta. Bless up for that. I'm excited about it.
Bastet will be banned out by CycloneGG. Cyclone not convinced that Hunbats will either be in the jungle or that Zelia will play Bastet. Yeah. I think, honestly, both of those are valid concerns. Zelia playing Hunbats or Bastet.
Yeah.
So taking them away, that leaves Valance Squad with the Terra selection for the support.
That's the first time we've seen Terra in a little bit here in the SPL. It looks like she's been picked once, but the healing not quite as potent anymore. Very easy to destroy that monolith once we added the basic attacks being able to destroy it, as well as her level 1 is very, very bad, and that's so important in the duo lane right now.
John Kui. He's back already. Why do we see John Kui?
I don't know. That's a great question. I mean, it could be you just want a tanky target up against that Poseidon in the middle lane, can have some protections innately in that kit to try and immune that Kraken. That'd be my guess at least.
Sobek will be the selection. Sobek or Terra, which one sees the solo lane?
Terra.
Terra.
That's my guess. Terra's my guess, but both could really do the job. I just think that with how important dual lane is, a level 1, Terra doesn't really excel at that. So you could put her in the solo lane, have the jungler help her out. You can not start in lane necessarily there because of the fire elementals. A couple other options that can kind of get her away from that weak early start.
I gotta sneeze. Let's get into the game, ladies and gentlemen. CycloneGG versus Valance Squadron.
There's your sneeze, Tom, and it is going to be Sobek in the solo lane, so completely wrong on that front. Big Man Ting's going to be piloting that Terra, so interesting to see. I'm interested to see what is Funball and Big Man Ting's going to do in that duo lane to prevent themselves from getting outpushed super, super hard and losing those left side buffs.
So Collis at level 1 on the Fafnir, how does he compare? Because Medusa obviously is queen of the clear, but how are you feeling about the Fafnir clear?
Fafnir clear is very, very good. The hammer does good damage to the minion wave. It's just a matter of if Big Man Tings or Funball is going to step up and body block that hammer because it will not pass through gods. It'll stop right there. Cherio's in the enemy jungle right now, looking like
for that proxy clear.
Yeah, could be looking not proxy clear necessarily, but maybe just starting out on the enemy red buff.
Ooh, that's an interesting start we're seeing.
Oh, it's Deathwalker, it's John Kui solo. Man, there's so much weird stuff going on here. It's Wolfie in the middle lane. You just had me all off with your coughing in that picks and bans, man.
Yeah,
I didn't notice any of this stuff.
What an interesting situation. I choked on nothingness. Everybody does that, right?
Yes.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, you guys don't do that well on camera. Cherio right now on camera doing a new start. Usually we see players start out in lane, push that lane, and then take that pressure and go elsewhere with it. Cherio just raw starting in the enemy jungle. I like this. What is the downside to this?
You're losing your buffs on the right-hand side heavily. You can see Ice Baby already stolen away that speed buff with the help of Wolfie. Looks like Fire Elementals are going to be next on the list. No, they're going to pass those up and instead go towards the speed buff, though. Ice is going to the middle lane to clear that out.
Left side trouble. Collis, he's going to fall down. Cherio with the level 2 gank starting at the enemy red buff. And then the next thing he's going to farm is the opponent. 500 gold bounty going to Valance Squadron.
So that's one of the advantages. You lose your buffs on the right-hand side, but you get pressure that the enemy team wasn't ready for on the left. Yeah. First blood there going to Cherio.
Ooh, okay. The Oracles are the next subject of Valance Squadron's ire, and that'll be easy peasy, no contest. So Deathwalker here on the Jean-Qui solo. I've always liked Jean-Qui solo. I feel like he is a warrior mage.
Yes.
Right? He's a very tanky
He's a battle
character.
mage.
Yeah, there you go.
A battle mage is the way that you can kind of think of him. And we've seen Variety play Jean-Qui in the solo lane because he does have those tanky qualities. He can be a frontliner if you build him that way, but he doesn't have the innate health gain per level that a warrior does or the protections that a warrior does.
He will gain those protections, you know, obviously with his passive. That's really where you're looking for with the bag of demons, of course.
Yes, and it's gonna take a little bit for him to get there, but up against something like Sobek in the solo lane, where the Sobek clear isn't excellent, you're not really under threat from anything as long as you know where the enemy jungler is. You can kind of clear a lot more safely than you can in the middle lane, where you've got a lot more options for where you can get ganked from.
Zhang, once upon a time, has always been about that. The ultimate is very potent until you just sort of buy Shell. Is that still the story? Is he just completely countered by Shell?
Well, Shell isn't nearly as good as it was in Season 3. It took a nerf coming into Season 4. It needs to be upgraded to be the same sort of potency. So early on, it's not nearly as good. So that's why you're seeing a lot of these AoE mages like Poseidon, like Zeus become a lot more potent because they aren't shut down entirely by that level 1 relic. So that could really open the door for a character like Jean-Qui to find some play as well.
So that's certainly what Deathwalker's thinking, who has had a fantastic Season 4. If you take my opinion as worth anything. I think Season 3, Deathwalker was, I think, very clearly the odd man out here on Cyclone. None of these players are really competing for the MVP trophy, I think, but they're all relatively strong in their own regard, and Deathwalker kind of seemed like the odd man out. Not holding the team back, but just certainly the Achilles heel. This season, however, and started in relegation, Deathwalker has certainly looked to turn over a new leaf. What do you think the biggest difference between this season and last season for DW is?
Well, he's always been willing to do some sort of odd things in that solo lane. I remember during their group stages, I believe, we saw him pick up Frenzy at rank 1 as Chalk solo. So he's always willing to experiment, but he's kind of found a nice balance of experimentation and what makes something him difficult to play against, but also effective experimentation.
Exactly. I think there's a fine line between doing something, just being crazy, and a method behind your madness. I also believe that you have to learn the rules before you break the rules, and it felt like Deathwalker just didn't know how to do the traditional before he brought out the jank. Now we've seen him play the traditional very, very strongly, and to bring out the stuff like the Jean-Qui and some more experimental stuff, I'm now not only willing to see it, I'm excited to see it. So I really want to see how this works out.
I mean, the Jean-Qui has done pretty well so far. He's level 6, hasn't been under any pressure from Cherio, who only had that pressure on the left-hand side, which did result in first blood for Valance. But if they allow this Jean-Qui to really just free farm, it's going to be difficult to deal with him in the middle stages of the game when he's level 17, 18, and his opponents are going to be 14, 15.
That was going to be my next question about Jean-Qui. Let's see, Oracles are looked at by both teams, but they'll walk away. Nobody wants to contest those with the opponent around. Is that Jean-Qui, what do we expect out of him? When we see the jank, usually, when we see weird stuff in the solo lane, usually it's for heavy burst. Ooh. There's the ultimate out of Cherio looking to separate Wolfie from the squad. He jumps away. Rom's going to take to the sky. 1 shot's good, 2 shots good, but a meditation saves the hunter, so no big deal right there for Cyclone. And wrapping up our conversation about Jean-Qui, what is Jean-Qui looking to add to the team fight?
AoE, sustained damage, just general annoyance, you know, just walking around, being tanky, being in your face, and also doing more damage than you're used to seeing out of the solo lane as far as traditional warriors go. Could also really see him go into a gem of isolation, an excellent pickup on Zhang Kui to add even more control to his kit. Long range, potent slow with the 1, and then when he pops that ult, everyone is going to be slowed around him.
That's one of my favorite item interactions is the slow on the Zhang Kui ult, because at that point you're moving up wash ult and you're just so obnoxious. The noise is hilarious. Just a bong. I love it. It's a great part of Smite.
What was that noise that he makes? I haven't played Zhang Kui in a while, so I just need to be a little more familiar.
Well, so when Zhang Kui goes ahead and ults, so he has his card, his 1, which is, and then he's got the exorcism.
I get the whole kit here.
Yeah, the exorcism right here, which is how he clears the wave. Wah! And then his book doesn't really make a noise, it's just like, whoomp. And then the ultimate, of course, is the blah.
I see. We should rename some of those abilities to reflect their, maybe make some onomatopoeias.
Right here on the right side, still contesting a little bit of nothingness. We're seeing these large fights that players are afraid to engage on over very small objectives.
I mean, this is what we're used to seeing from Europe, especially in the early stages of the season. Usually they're a little bit more calculated than North America is.
Sure.
And that wasn't the case during relegations, where it was Europe that was trying to brawl for the most of the early game, and then it was North America who wanted to farm up. Now it's Europe kind of going back to their roots. They want to farm up for the first 14 to 15 minutes, and then we'll start to see some team fights breaking out, especially with the composition that Cyclone has drafted here with the double ADC and the Fafnir to give them the attack speed steroid in the later stages of the game. Cyclone really wants to farm up with this composition. Valance, on the other hand, they also need to farm up as far as Funball and Cherio goes, but they do have a little bit more early game pressure with that Poseidon in the middle lane. Kraken's going to 100 to 0 you in the early game basically every time.
I think that the Valance Squadron cast of characters here a little bit more balanced out. You've got, like I said, you mentioned the early to mid game prowess of Lobster, and Cherio pretty much at level 5 becomes relevant. And then Funball is just sort of waiting in lane, waiting to become Rom a little bit later on. And you know me, I'm a fan of having a balanced team to be able to like have that handoff. Cyclone are leaned with the heavy hunters, leaned a little bit more towards the late game, but I think that's why they chose Medusa. She's an earlier game hunter than some of the others.
That is true. A little bit more. Both of these hunters really aren't the late game hyper carries. Both of them really rely on their abilities to do a little bit more bulk of their damage than other hunters do. Than say someone like Rom. Wolfie 2v1 able to secure those oracles for his squad with that Uller, and he's using those abilities more than anything else in this early game, waiting until the later stages to rely on those auto attacks.
Yeah, I mean, early game, sometimes you even see these Ullers, the mid lane specifically, go a little bit of cooldown reduction. Gold Fury is going to be started here on the left side. 75% HP. Deathwalker teleports over as the Zhang Kui. 25% on the objective. Already gone. Gold Fury goes the way of Cyclone. Valance Squadron spawns a little bit too late. Big Man Tings by his lonesome. Follows the Ghost Man into the lane, but that be that. Cyclone clean and clear. They get the oracles for the vision on the Gold Fury and then snap right back and take it away.
That's exactly what I was about to say. That Gold Fury brought to you by Wolfie, because he's able to secure that vision. Even if they split there, that may open the door for Cyclone, but they probably don't feel quite as confident. Valance just didn't have any sort of vision on that Gold Fury. Big Man Tings knew it was happening, but as Terrier can't really do a whole lot. Vote, nice use of his ult there to give him CC immunity, but then he ults as well.
Yeah, Cherio over here gonna retreat, and a beautiful shots out of Funball. Take the kill. Vote's gonna fall down. Here's the response. It's only one player, but he's followed by Big Man Tings. Not enough to kill. As Susano finds his safety underneath the tower. Very low is Cherio. He's gonna back to base. Funball's a little bit low as well. Big Man Tings, well, he just got low. Previously at 100%.
But he does have that sustain in his kit from that Monolith heal. Zalia's made the rotation.
It's a big play.
There's the lurking underneath the waters. Kraken as well onto Wolfie. Purification gonna make sure he doesn't get knocked up. Nice stun from Collis to guarantee actually get the kill onto Zalia. Collis from a distance with the hammer locks him underneath the tower long enough for Zalia to fall.
Great stuff out of the guys on Cyclone right there. Obviously, they wound up losing a little bit. I think the gank at Valance was the stronger play if we're comparing the two. But you know, these plays don't exist in a vacuum, and you got to give the hand up to Collis for securing that kill. Without that stun, I mean, that's a walk away for Zalea.
Absolutely, and that's really tough whenever you're a solo laner and you make a rotation all the way to the duo lane. You're like, all right, I better get something out of this.
Yeah.
And not only do you not get a kill or an objective out of it, you lose a ton of farm on that right-hand side. Zalea did have the teleport up to get to lane, so he only missed it 1 or 2 waves, but that still pretty feels bad to make your rotation all the way over there and just end up dying for it.
Yeah, I mean, Zhonghui on the top of the net worth chart, certainly not the case for Zalea, who's trailing behind by a little bit. You can see he's middle of the pack, losing by about 600 to his direct opposition. But that's what I said. When I said that's a big play, I didn't mean that, oh, this is the highlight reel play. I meant they're investing Zalea, his ultimate, from the solo lane. He walked here without teleport. Why do you think that Valance Squadron, that didn't seem to be, with the Gold Fury down on the left side, why was that kill on the left side so important for VAC?
It definitely could have opened up that tier 1 tower on the left-hand side if they were able to get the kill onto Wolfie. Vote had already died. Ice was very, very low, and then it's only Collis there to really defend. Deathwalker may have had his teleport, may not have, but either way, he probably doesn't want to come over there and contest that. He's probably content to stay over on the right-hand side anyways.
Sure.
So it opens up that tower, and we've seen how important the left side is for Cherio to be ganking. He's gotten 2 kills over there for both himself and for Funball the last 2 times he's been over on that left-hand side. So it would have opened up the map a little bit for Valance, but just they didn't respect the purification beads coming out of Wolfie. Not only did it get him out of the slow, but prevented the knock-up and the stun from the Kraken, which allowed him to get away and just bait Zalea in a little bit too deep.
Yeah, just a little bit of overexcitement, I guess, from the guys on Valance Squadron. Thought there was more to eat. Not going to be the case here. Early on in our series here, just 12 minutes on the clock. Valance Squadron leading by a single kill, 2-1. And the goal differential, not much, pretty close here. Valance Squadron and Cyclone have had a relatively slow game so far. A lot of it focused on certain objectives. Really heavy focus from Cyclone on those oracles, which I think it's interesting. Certain teams value them higher than others. We see Cyclone really value them. Cherio looking to get involved here. Blows the ultimate on the single player. Figured he was going to use it on the Portal Demon.
But he didn't. He didn't have to. No, they're going to stick on it.
Yeah.
Cyclone still going for that Portal Demon, and they're going to secure it. That's 150 gold their way, as well as that extra mobility to get back into the team fight if a push goes wrong. Just a little bit of extra gold in Cyclone's favor. I don't mind that use of Fear No Evil by Cherio. I think that he he thought that it would be, it's kind of a bluff, right?
Right, yeah.
So he's like, yeah, we're all coming. Ice doesn't have purification, and I know that. He needs to be careful. But very, very nice job by Cyclone to say, I still think he's alone. You know, we can stay on this, and now he doesn't have that AoE ultimate, so Portal Demon goes Cyclone's way.
Yeah, I think that right there was just a tenement to the improvement that we've seen out of Cyclone from Season 3 to 4. I love the aggression right here because they know that Cherio's ultimate is down. If Fear No Evil is up, you don't see this play coming out of Cyclone. Deathwalker just walks to the enemy jungle and is able to pop that exorcism, and the team's going to look for the speed buff, all because Cherio used that ultimate on Ice.
Lobster still has Kraken, though, and they have to respect that, but they're going to have to back up. But looking at Lobster's build, it looks like right after his boots, he started with the Sands of Time and Bumba's Mask, which we've seen quite a few mid laners go for. But then directly into Mark of the Vanguard, which we haven't seen really any mid laners do as far as I can remember. If I had to make a guess as to why he's building this, it would be that you don't want to take a whole lot of dot damage from someone, or not dot damage, but just quick poke from someone like Ice Baby in the jungle, as well as that damage from Wolfie in the middle lane.
I like this conversation, but let's resume it after the Gold Fury goes down. 40% on the objective so far. Valance Squadron with control over it. Beautiful ultimate by Cherio. It's going to zone for the moment, and it's enough. Ultimately goes to Valance Squadron with the Kraken. Lobster's in trouble now, trying to find an escape, and there it is. Deathwalker gets his first kill. He's going to wind up looking strong right now. Pretty low, though, and Cherio finishes him off. Footballer with the doubleon from the sky. Another fantastic highlight play from the Hunter. Vote gets a kill, and Funball finishes up the third portion of his triple kill.
Quadra!
Make that 4 quadra kill for Funball.
Just from a distance, deicide for Valance. Cyclone, they lose the Gold Fury. They lose their entire team in the process. Just a little bit too split. Deathwalker goes really, really deep to secure the kill onto Big Man Tings, and Zalea does a great job for Valance on the front side, distracting both Hunters and the support player Collis, and Funball just cleans them up from a distance with those Rom Snipes.
That is classic Funball. You know, if I had to say that he looked like a different Hunter, I'd have to say that he showed flashes of Reels right there. Reels always being the cleanup man, but you got to give Funball his own credit. Funball just looked like Funball right there, if I'm completely honest.
I mean, it definitely has the opportunity to step into the spotlight without Cuvo, without Trix Tank. You know, he's always been one of the best ADCs in Europe, but probably didn't get quite as much credit as was due.
Absolutely.
Now is his chance to shine, and he's certainly doing it in this game. 5-0-2, been a part of every single kill for Valance Squadron early on.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because Funball, now the guy behind the character, the guy behind the scenes, Kieran, Funballer, loves the attention. He likes being the guy in the spotlight. Obviously, he commentated with us at Worlds. Fantastic guy, such a good time. But he likes this spotlight. And like you said, with Trix and everybody gone, not only does that give the opportunity to Funball, but I think it will positively affect his ability to play, because now he gets to be, he gets to be the star here.
Wolfie has to use those purification beats. Turns around, hits Cherio with a nice axe. Going to get a little bit of poke on to Cherio. Decides not to stand in the heal provided to him by big man Tings. But that Cherio got what he wanted there. That was the purification beads out of Wolfie.
Valance Squad looking for the aggression here. BMT just tanking up the tower, looking for the stun. Doesn't find it, but he finds the room. And the rest of the squad able to clean up the tier 1 tower in the middle lane. They're battling against time as the left side is being taken out by Vote completely. Dash forward from Zelia, not going to find much, but the basics of Funball still dealing with the tower. Here comes Deathwalker from the right-hand side. Beautiful ultimate coming out from the jungle on the side of Cyclone. Not enough as Zelia just cleans up the solo very quietly.
Funball up in the sky, looking for some snipes, just getting some good damage onto Ice Ice Baby. Again, just creating space for Valance to try and get this tier 2 tower in middle, and they need this tower because Vote got both the duo lane towers in that split push.
That's a hard commit coming out from Valen. They're not tricked. They understand that the Medusa is going to go ahead and get those towers. Those towers in the eyes of Valance are much less important than this mid lane tower. The map presence that the mid lane structures give you is just incredible.
But they aren't able to find it. It's so low. They spent so much time autoing away at it, but just couldn't quite find enough damage to punch through it. And you take a look at what Funball is building, you can kind of see why. Not a whole lot of power in that build. Plenty of attack speed, plenty of penetration, but not just a lot of raw power. Not like even Vote's build. He's gone for Fatalis, which provides 0 real power, but Transcendence more than enough to make up for it.
You know, I think it's interesting. I think Valance Squad makes that call because Funball can afford tier 2 of the Titan's Bane. That's the only reason they try to make those shots there. Portal Demon going to be aggressed on, but Cyclone ultimately take it away, no problem.
We've seen a lot of teams really heavily prioritize this Portal Demon, and a lot of fights happening over it on this right-hand side, and I like that decision from Valance to just say, yeah, you know, take it. It's not that big of a deal at this stage in the game. No reason to suicide over it. Cyclone has a slight lead. It's basically an even game at this stage. This is not an objective worth losing our lives over. Even the Gold Fury at this stage is definitely worth a big team fight like we saw last time. I mean, you could see the swing that happened in favor of Valance after that Gold Fury, and that split push from Vote is that big spike right back up into Cyclone's favor.
I'll be honest with you, it's pretty much, I mean, sure, it's been a very short season. We're on what, day 4 or 5 of total, but so far I've really only seen that Portal Demon, Deathwalker in trouble, flip back. Might be fine depending on how tanky he is in reality. There's a good stun, but oh, the combination of the rest of the team coming over might be different. Cyclone gonna respond in kind, however. Whirlpool dropped, no cracking just yet.
There's the Fear No Evil on Ice Ice Baby. Gonna use both relics to save his own life there. 2 ultimates used by Valance, not only, or 3 ultimates rather. Looks like the Terra ultimate was used by Big Man Tings as well to help Zelia disengage. And you ask how tanky Deathwalker is. The answer is really tanky. He's got 80 stacks on that Warlock Sash.
Love it.
Some magical protection with the Void Stone as well. Looks like it could be a Jade Emperor's Crown as the 4th item there, reducing the physical power of the enemy team as well.
I love the build coming out from, honestly. Wolfie tried to do work there in the mid lane, gonna get answered by Cherio. Nice little dodge for the Hail of Arrows there. Cherio, if he gets hit by the volley, takes too big of a chunk to stay relevant here.
And Cherio has gotten Mark of the Vanguard 4th item after his Hydra's Lament.
So I really like the Mark of the Vanguard, specifically on Lobster. So you used to see the helmet come out, right?
Sure.
You still do, honestly. And that's to deal with, hey, I'm against a magical mid laner, but a physical jungler. So you bring out the Mark of the Vanguard because you have double physical.
Oh, Ice, he's got no relics. He's gonna eat that Fear No Evil in full. Trying to get away, does have that mobility, but Big Man Tings picks him up. Funball uses ultimate there to secure, just in case. But since Ice was already dead, I'll just put 700 damage into Vote, real casually.
Funball has been completely accurate. I mean, the accuracy on that ultimate, probably 100%. Gold Fury goes to Valance Squadron, almost no problem. Now looking for more. Collis is going to be stunned out, jumps over to the right-hand side. The rest of the team looking for safety underneath the tier 2 on the left lane. Cherio's going to give chase onto the support. Collis in trouble, gets zoned out, gets rooted, forced into the ultimate, flipped, and done. There's number 10 for VAC, and they're going to continue their siege in the mid lane. Two basics, pop it down, and a big swing coming out for the guys on Valance Squad. 20 minutes in, and we see a 4,000 gold lead for VAC.
And you just see the experience that Valance has in this roster. Cherio gets both relics out from Ice Ice Baby on the right-hand side. Immediately, Valance backs up, says, we're done fighting for now. And then when the Gold Fury respawns, they just wait for Ice to come around that corner. Cherio immediately hits him with that Fear No Evil, and then the rest of the team is able to clean up, and that creates enough room for that Gold Fury to be taken without any sort of contention.
Real quick about that Mark of the Vanguard, a big part of it has to do with Deathwalker. The ultimate, like you said, consistent AoE damage, but it comes by way of multiple little shots. So the true damage reduction, or the damage reduction, will affect all of those little shots. Mark of the Vanguard excels against dot-based characters. You see it frequently purchased against characters like Anubis, and so Deathwalker on the Zhang Kui, absolutely one of those characters. Icing on the cake for Ice Ice Baby's dot as well.
It is 800 gold investment, so it's not
free.
It's not free exactly, though. You do get to sell it back for 533, which really makes it not that expensive at the end of the day, but delays your build fairly significantly. Poseidon doesn't really have a whole lot of expensive items. Gem of Isolation, pretty expensive, but then he wants to go for the Fatalis, which is a super gold investment.
For Cherio, I don't really mind, considering his next items purchased was a Heartseeker and a Titan's Bane, two relatively inexpensive items.
Very, very cheap items. Hunbats, that's one of his greatest strengths, is that his build path is very cheap outside of a Deathbringer usually as one of your last items.
Valance Squadron staying aggressive here on the right side. No real commit to the blue buff coming out from Cyclone. It's very interesting. The lead from Valance Squadron isn't that large, but Cyclone showing them so much respect. 35-60 is how much Valance Squad are in the lead. You know, you divide that by 5, aggro, and really, what are you looking at? One part of an item for each of these players? It's not that huge of a lead.
That's true, but what was the last team fight that Cyclone won? They haven't won a big team fight quite yet. Ice on the very edge of that Fear No Evil. Ooh. He saves both his relics, but he may need them. He uses the purification there. Kraken on the right-hand side. Petrified is buying some time for the rest of the team. Vote very far in the back here. 2 fights, one in the middle lane, one on that right-hand side. Funball trying to end it off in that left-hand side, or right-hand side rather, but Lobster, he's going to be the one to clean off Callus there.
And Cherio still fighting with Wolfie. Not going to get the kill just yet. Right side. Looks like a good disengage as well coming out. And nobody really going to fall except for Collis.
Deathwalker teleports in, but Portal Demon already finished off. Valance able to secure that for themselves. They realize Deathwalker is here now, and they're trying to cut him off. Zalia underneath there looking for the pluck, but because that card onto Lobster creates, just gets Deathwalker out of there.
Big plays. So this Zhang Kui, it's interesting. Zhang Kui is affecting this game in ways that we're not really seeing. It's just preventing Valance Squadron from making some of these plays. I feel like they're anticipating that the ultimate of Deathwalker has been used as a successful stop more than it has been used as an aggressive maneuver.
Well, someone needs to stop Valance from doing this Fire Giant. No one's going to do so. All 5 members
just not know?
Get the Fire Giant there without any sort of pressure. Vote was in base. Callus was very far away. I think that Cyclone just had to give it up. They knew that Valance was able to get that Portal Demon, which means they can spend their gold that they won in that last team fight very, very quickly, and then get right back to the Fire Giant before someone like Vote can even back to base and get there to contest.
Yeah, it just seemed like Cyclone were just out of the loop. Like they just didn't even know, right?
I mean, this composition right now for Cyclone, this is where it starts to get a little bit better for them with the Double Hunter. You can see 4 items completed for Vote on this Medusa. 4 items also completed for Wolfie. He's got some more penetration with that Brawler's Beatstick. Again, relying a little bit more on his abilities than his auto attacks necessarily. 2 Fatalis is a good amount of pen, but they need to get a fight. They need to get a team fight win soon.
Right side, Phoenix half HP already. Valance looking to look for the shot here. Not too aggressive. You can see just playing it cautiously. Cherio drops the ultimate on the back line, forcing one out of the enemy jungler as well. Phoenix stays alive as Cyclone now commits hard to the defense. There's the ultimate out of Deathwalker. That's what I was talking about, is the fact that his ability...
Able to find Wolfie underneath that middle. Phoenix dies 1 for 1 for it, and that favors Cyclone because now they don't have that assassin to worry about diving their backline. Collis, he jumps in, transforms into the dragon, but Deathwalker, he's flopped back.
He's going to stay in his spot there. There's a great ultimate coming out from Vote, getting a stun, forcing the relics out of Funball. Deathwalker low, and with all of his tools on cooldown, he's going to be in trouble. The shot's not true coming out of Funball until the basic goes right on through. Same fate for Collis. He'll fall to the hand of Big Man Tings. Damage coming out of the Hunter as well. Good little retreat coming out from Lobster.
Oh, Funball dashes in. He's trying to take the 1v1 in the Titan room. Vote gonna fall. Funball picks up his 7th kill. 7-0-7 for the Hunter for Valance Squadron. Right Phoenix is down. Middle Phoenix, only Ice Baby here to defend it, and Funball doesn't want to look at him anymore.
Funball right there. I got to give credit to the man.
Ooh.
To Wolfie, finding the hail of arrows over the wall, smoking out Funball. Did not expect that whatsoever. Neither myself nor Funball, I think.
That came out of nowhere. I don't think Wolfie had any vision. I'm pretty sure that was blind over the wall.
Shot.
But he's got to be careful with Xaylia level 19. That's what Sobek does. He just so tanky and so much damage if you don't have any sort of escape available. Wolfie had used his to jump in, and Xaylia immediately makes him pay. 3-3-2 for the mid laner, though. That's a nice little play he had to try and defend that Phoenix.
Yeah, no, Wolfie, and that's the thing with this Cyclone squad is I think that Valance are playing an extremely strong game here. I think they made a couple of mistakes early on on this side of the map by the Gold Fury and some of the Oracle, paying attention to the Oracles or lack thereof. But Cyclone have not even treading water here. I think they're swimming alongside with Valance Squadron, albeit losing with a decent deficit. Cyclone have had some strong plays, most notably out of Wolfie and Deathwalker on the Zhang Kui.
I agree with you, but the composition works on paper, but Cyclone just didn't really seem to play around it. They needed to find their team fights a little bit later on after some of these key items have been completed. And Valance did a great job of forcing Cyclone to fight them because they knew that Cyclone had to wait it out for these later game items with the double Hunter composition, but it just hasn't seemed to work out thus far. Not enough front line to protect this double Hunter. It was Valance Squadron who ran the 2 ADC, 3 Guardian composition that worked very, very well up against Energy, but they had a ton of front line, they had a ton of lockdown as well, and you just can't say the same for this Cyclone draft.
Not at all, not at all. Deathwalker, he's, like you said, the items need to be there. I think now Deathwalker's a little bit stronger, and he, like I said, it's been a little bit quiet. So you probably won't see this Zhang Kui on the highlight reel, but this ultimate has just caused hard stops from Valance Squadron. It took 2 sieges on the right side for the Phoenix, and I think that's a right? If Cyclone had a couple more items under their belt, that one stop turns into maybe a counterattack and a comeback for the squad. And I think that now that the game is getting later, almost at the half-hour mark, the players have a couple more items. Vote finishing off those Chin Sai, which is a very important point for this Medusa Hunter. I think that Cyclone, the next time they get a stop, they might be able to fight into Valance Squadron.
They could, and it really only takes one team fight win for Cyclone to get back in this game quickly because of how much objective damage they have between the 2 Hunters and Ice Baby. You can really siege down towers very, very easily, but the problem with that is Collis needs to be alive as well in order to tank those towers up for them if they're going to backdoor them because they don't have any other frontline options. Zhang Kui, yeah, he's got a lot of HP, but not a whole lot of physical protection.
Sure. Certainly going to watch out for that. Xaylia playing goalie here as Cyclone try to mess with the Fire Giant. Valance Squadron bring it down to about 75% HP. There's the transformation from Collis and the ultimate out of the monkey. And he gets blown up. Absolutely no support from the support. Deathwalker walks in by himself. Gets 3 people stunned out with the book. There's going to be help from Big Man Tings. And he's rooted. Deathwalker is gone. Lobster on the side. Ice Baby gets taken out by Cherio. Vote by himself. He's going to join his team. And Wolfie, He's going to
Vegas.
join as well. Big shots coming out from Funball. Zelia puts a dot on that one. Funball leading the charge, 23,000 player damage. His slash line looks strong as well. 7, 1, and 13. Part of 21 out of 22 of the kills here during this game one. Valance take it over Cyclone.
And that's exactly what we expected to see.